Patricia. Okay, meeting started.
Well, we're waiting for it to start.
Gotta start the meeting. 6:03.
That's true. Meeting, please come to order. And I better come to order too. Let's see. Public comment.
I won't go up in the airplane.
She'd love to jump the parachute, but she won't go in the airplane.
So,
Public comment issues not on the agenda.
All right, I got Patricia on the telephone, folks. So, talk to
so
the
that's
telephone.
now, right?
I don't know. It seems to be working all right. I can hear you. I don't know about other people.
I can't hear her when she's in the
Just talk loud,
Okay, there's no public comment.
I have one,
Previous
Nick.
meeting.
Sorry?
I have one to go over.
Get in the meeting. Come on.
Okay,
Okay, let me just pass this out first, so you can kind of read along. Okay, read that one.
there's a comment
So-
from Ron Gates.
Guess I can't read.
Grab the phone. Okay.
Okay, would you make sure Ron has the speaker
He does.
speaks and talk right into it?
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can,
Okay, so I wrote a letter to the selectmen. The Warwick Fire Department is in need of a pump which will allow us to fill our new tanker.
I'm sorry, would you say that again, please?
The Warwick Fire Department is in need of a new pump which will allow us to fill our new tanker at 750 gallons a minute. It is on the same idea as our old Deuce 2.5, which holds 750 gallons. The new tanker holds 2,800 gallons. We have done our homework and found a pump for $5,700. We have other quotes from smaller pumps, different companies that range up to $13,000. So we did look into several different areas to try and get the cheapest and best quality pump.
Do you have a deadline?
Excuse me?
Do you have a deadline for making, for buying it or using?
No, there's no deadline that I know of as far as getting it.
Okay, well then, that's all I need to know at this point. I don't know about the rest of you.
Okay, I'm not done.
Okay.
It will take about a year to complete this project. The tanker can give us 2,800 gallons now, but will have to be refilled with another engine, taking time and manpower, which we don't have. But I explained that a little bit to you, that the tanker we can fill the tanker, so we have 2,800 gallons right now to dump. But then, once that's dumped, we can't take another truck out to refill it again. So with this pump, that'll allow us it'll be able to refill itself. We're also in need of a portable holding tank, which will accommodate the 2,800 gallons when offloaded. This will cost $3,000. In order to build and outfit the truck and put it in service with the piping and fitting, welding and whatnot, will cost a total of $12,300. I know, I understand the town is really hurting for money. I just ask that you keep in mind that the 2 trucks that we got for free from the state, is taking place of the $300,000 truck that we were going to ask for to begin with. In light of that, then I'm hoping that the town will see that $12,300 isn't so bad.
Is all of that in your letter?
Yeah, yes, it is.
Okay, well, that's really all I need to know. Thank you.
Okay,
How much of this is in your budget?
it's not.
How about grants? Have you tried to get any grants for this?
I haven't tried to get grants for this yet. It, I really don't know of any. I mean, Lieutenant Lyman and I have been looking and looking. We have really been, searching for grants that are out there, and there's just nothing that we can find. Everything we think we have a lead on, it turns out, well, that's not for that. They're not giving them to the fire departments. I mean, I know there's grants out there. We just haven't found the right source to get what we need.
Then the federal government can't bring us.
They, I don't know. I can't say yes or no, but I haven't found it. And Bill has really done a lot of time searching. He's done a lot of time searching for different grants, talked to different people, and we're not coming up with anything right now.
David left this weekend, he's got his hands up.
This is for the 6x6,
Right.
and did it come with a pump that's bad, or was
No,
it just
it
never?
didn't.
never
It didn't have a pump.
Didn't have a pump,
No.
and his brother
Or-
doesn't have a pump.
No, or a folding tank either. There's a spot for it, but there's no
Okay.
pumps.
And is there any, did you look at the option of using the pump out of the other pumper?
Out of the deuce?
No, we got two trucks
Right.
twice. And does the other pumper have a pump on it?
It's not the same type of pump, I don't believe.
Yeah, no.
It's,
The engine, and are you talking like engine one?
No,
No, I'm
the-
talking about
the-
the brother to the
Oh,
Detroit
One
Yard.
at a time, please.
Oh, no, none of those other trucks will, it's a total different setup. It's like I'm sure you've seen where the pump is on the deuce and a half, that small pump.
Yeah.
These are, the other trucks have like an internal built-in pump that is way bigger than what.
The
what
definition
would fit.
is portable versus like a midship mount pump or something like that. That's attached right to the engine on a PTO.
And which one do you want?
The portable.
Portable. Okay. So, are you looking for action soon?
I was gonna ask the town at the town meeting if that was possible.
All right, that wasn't clear, so I want
Oh,
to drag that out.
right.
So we,
Annual
need
town
one.
report?
It's a,
Are you talking next May's annual or?
no.
The special?
Just special.
Special, because it's, I mean, I could certainly wait if needed be, but it's gonna take about a year to build the whole thing. I mean, it's a lot, welding and piping and stuff that it's gonna take a while to get it all together.
No, just a minute. So, tell the little black box that you're looking for special town meeting action.
Pat, what asking to be put on the special town meeting action?
I see. And where did you propose to have the money taken from?
I didn't propose any. I really didn't. I wasn't going to say borrow it or take it out of town budget, or, I mean, I figured maybe David could figure that part out for us, or.
Or you were gonna talk to the finance committee?
I did mention it to the finance committee, and they said, well, I actually talked to Rick Abbott, and he said that he would try to get together with me with the finance committee before the meeting if he could, but he wasn't sure that that was going to be possible.
Well, it seems to me that, to put it on the warrant, we would need more information.
Okay?
And we will have to post the warrant by the 8th, which is, what, next Tuesday?
Next Monday is our warrant posting deadline, and I would say to selectmen, if you want me to, I can make an article out of this, and it can be broad enough. It could be something like transfers from capital stabilization, borrow or appropriate from available funds, and at town meeting we could decide on, by then have it decided as to what.
Okay, and we,
Do we need to add an Article 5 tonight?
No, I just need marching orders to do so by next week.
And it will be time.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're saying.
the 8th is the,
Next Monday is our posting deadline.
okay, can we hold another meeting on Monday?
That's the plan, it's on the calendar, in fact. Monday at 6, and we have to have it done, printed, and posted by 7. I've never worked that way before, but you want to do it at 5?
I could be here.
We can continue to have it on the previous Friday. Depending on what people think.
Well, I hate the idea. I like Monday a lot better, but earlier. Want to do 5 o'clock?
I think we need to do 5 o'clock to be safe.
Okay, so this item will really be discussed again later in the agenda because we've got this special town meeting warrants on the agenda, and I've got some comments to make about Articles 3 and 4. Look how work from
Okay.
here.
Okay.
You'll work from here.
So do you want to make the motion now? Then I will say.
Oh, I got the consensus, but we're going to talk about, unless you want to jump ahead to that item, but we got Ted here for 6:30,
Yeah,
and the
that's
building
fine.
inspector's coming in, so let's follow the agenda.
Okay. Let's see. I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
She said she'd be fine with whenever you guys decide to get
I am fine with any time the rest of you can get together.
All right, next Monday at 5 is going to be the time.
Okay. Sounds good to me. I don't think we really need a motion that way, do we?
I agree, we don't. So we're on to minutes.
I move to accept the minutes of August 18th.
Second.
No, I have a public comment, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ted, you have a public comment.
I serve on county committees where absentee membership is done by phone. And it works better if you have a dedicated device on the table for that activity. That's the comment. Thank you.
This is the dedicated device. It's not doing that good on the table. You thinking we should use a landline?
I believe it's a landline and there's it's size of a pie plate, smaller than a dinner plate. And it picks opens up the conversation for all of the people on the table.
Say that,
And the
Patricia.
person speaking is clear enough so everybody at the table can easily understand what the person says.
We're not changing. Could I report, Mr. Chairman? I have looked into these. They start, the device starts at about $800, and the one we want has the provision for remote microphones to be added for better coverage. And so we're looking at $1,400 budget for that kind of thing. And I agree with Ted. That's the way to go. This is pretty painful.
I think we either need to spend that money or we need to do something else here because this is really not working. I have a question.
I would be willing to look into this.
Patricia, how long, Patricia, do you expect to be having to meet this way? Do you have any time on it now? I'm not putting you under pressure, but I'm seeing whether we need to spend the $1,400 ASAP. Hello, Patricia, are you there?
Are you there? Do you have any, what's your best estimate when you'll be coming home?
Well, the earliest I would be home would be Monday, which is conceivable, but I think it's likely not to be till after the 11th.
Okay.
So I think it's quite possible that I would be there for some meeting.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I ordered one, it wouldn't be here by the time she's back.
I think that's true. I think you'd better do it for the future, but slow down on it so that we can get the best deal.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to pay for it either. Well, I use dollars, but I don't know where they're coming from.
We're in the middle of a motion.
Okay, where are we here?
We're in the middle of a motion.
The
John
minutes.
had made a motion to accept the minutes of August 18th as printed.
And I have seconded.
Yes.
And is there any other discussion after all of that?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I wouldn't hear the motion.
John moved to accept the minutes of August 18th as printed. Nick seconded. And they too voted in the affirmative. And
And I hope to be from there as well.
thank you. All right,
Okay.
okay.
More state primary election worker appointments. I didn't see anything in the package about that.
Well, I know who they are.
They're in there, next to the last page.
Yes, Harry Petrucci from the Secretary of State's office. I checked with him because Beth Gilman, who's always worked all the elections with Jeanette, said that in the past, the select board has made one-day appointments for constables to make sure that the election is properly covered. And I checked with him, and he said that is an acceptable practice. And as I mentioned before, anytime you can, as a board, make supplemental appointments for more people that have said they would be willing to be election workers. So Rod Whipple and Calvin Fellows have agreed to be appointed constables just for the one day for the purposes of the election. And the election workers that would have a one-year term until August 31st of 2015 would be Regina Curtis, Andrea Woods, and Cheryl Fontaine.
I will suppose the primary election position.
Second.
Question. Is there any requirement under section 288 as it is, which is missing from the agenda this week? Yeah.
Also, I think
sorry, once again, I couldn't hear you.
I'm not aware of any, Nick. I'll get it back on the agenda. I don't have any 268 exemptions.
Okay. Then I guess we can go with it. Any other comments?
That was just for the constables, right?
Will you make the
I'll
You
make.
just adopt this thing.
Motion to appoint Rod Whipple and Kelvin Phil as constables for one day only. Do we need to say the date?
Yes.
What was it?
September 9th, state primary election.
For September 9, 2014.
Two separate.
We're gonna make it 2 separate items. Okay, I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
I have a question for Rosen.
Okay, go ahead.
What day does one have to get an absentee ballot?
By noon on Monday the 8th. And I have to be in the office from 10 to noon on Monday morning to make sure someone can come in and request one. And there is a form for family members. If Ed can come in and sign it and get it for you, he's allowed to do that.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, move to appoint I move to appoint Andrea Woods, Regina Curtis, and Cheryl Fontaine as election workers for a one-year term to expire August 31st, 2015.
Second. Okay, good. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Done, thank you. Announcement of DCR proposed acquisition of 90-plus acres.
You skipped one.
I'm sorry?
You skipped.
Special
Back
town.
up
I'm
one.
sorry, I did. Special town meeting order.
We've regressed. We're talking now about the special town meeting warrant.
Article,
Yes.
which is in your packet after, after a letter from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, if you find that.
Yeah, well, those letters,
It's after the town ordinance.
yeah, would I like to speak to if I could, Mr. Chairman? May I?
Hello, Pat?
Yeah, I want to draw your attention to the legal opinion letter dated 1989. And I will share with you my conversations with town council. We need to strike our proposed Articles 3 and 4 having to do with the school. Once the Northfield override vote occurred and their town clerk certified the vote, the school budget passed. There is no reverse gear. There is no reconsideration under the law allowed. So town council advises, and based on these letters and my reading the law, I draw your attention to Chapter 71, Section 16B, the 6th paragraph, the first line of the 6th paragraph says, which is where I was hanging my hat on that paragraph, where it said, if the budget doesn't pass, within 45 days, the town must convene. Well, the budget did pass when Northfield's override passed and the town clerk certified it. So we should not put that on the warrant because it's not going to be legally actionable.
Did the town clerk certify the Northfield action?
According to the school, they have. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay,
Town council says, don't try this.
that's what he said.
Yes.
Well, of course, we don't know exactly what information you have.
Well, you should, if you read the law and the opinion letter provided there, you should know that.
Did town council have the information that the Northfield vote was?
I don't have that information. I don't know how he would have done
Well,
it. Did you read this letter?
yes, I read the letter, but there appear to be two opinions floating around here. One is that the vote takes, the vote becomes impossible to rescind at the time of the vote, and the other is the vote becomes impossible to rescind at the time of the certification.
Warwick's vote, once the town meeting is dissolved, may not be reconsidered. That's enough to say don't do it. Furthermore, I provided you with evidence that says that once the budget has passed in the district, it's a done deal. So in both cases, there's no reverse gear for this, much as I wish there were.
Okay, I will move the abandonment of Articles 3 and 4 based upon a procedural error as explained in the letters we have received that are attached to the agenda.
Second.
I believe you both seconded. It was seconded by Patricia. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
I think on this one, don't we have to come back to Ron's pumps? Because it requires an article.
I can work without a vote as long as I know what you're thinking. And I think I know what you're thinking. I think I'm hearing that you want an article in support of this fire department expenditure. Voted?
Correct, I think we do need a vote on it.
I didn't say you did.
I know you didn't, but I think we do. So, would you like to make the motion, Donna?
I move.
We're working on that.
I move that we add an article to the special town meeting agenda stating that
Um,
12-3.
Stating that the $12,300 referred to in the letter of Ron Gates of this state be approved. Do we need anything else? I don't think we need anything else because David is going to write the details. Okay.
any other discussion?
No further discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, I think that takes care of the special town meeting. So on to DCR proposed acquisition of 90+ acres.
In accordance with the provisions of 301 CMR 51.00, the Department of Conservation and Recreation is informing the town that they want to acquire 2 pieces of land that are in the northwest corner of Warwick. Here's the map. That's one parcel in Warwick adjacent to this large parcel proposed in Northfield. Again, parcel in Warwick adjacent to the large parcel in Northfield. All you got to do is announce it to the public, and once Once that's done, Rosa can, as clerk of the town, can sign this piece of paper, which I can send back with our stamp.
Patricia, it is two parcels, one of which is an in-holding that clearly ought to be there, that in-holding within, within land on the border between Northfield and Warwick. The other is north of major holdings in Northfield and on the New Hampshire border. Did anybody get that? The idea is to get parcels in Warwick that are adjacent to parcels in Northfield, which are already under DCR control.
The idea here is to announce it, not to otherwise act on it. Is it so announced, Mr. Chairman?
It is so announced, but let me ask if you don't mind. We don't have any choice in this. I think it sounds like a good thing to do, especially since I think you said that we'll in fact get more funds from DCR than we would get if it were under Chapter 60.
Chapter 61, that is true. This, our current payment in lieu of taxes, and the assessors court's nodding their head, payment in lieu of taxes gives us more per acre than the chapter lands do per acre.
Don, do you have a motion?
Need a motion?
You don't need a motion.
We don't need a motion, just let the record show that
Thank you very much.
it was announced.
It was announced.
6:30 until it's supposed to be out. 6:30, nobody's not on.
Okay, Phil Warren.
Good evening.
The first segment is discussion concerning scheduling periodic inspections. I would want you to understand that it is not, as described in David's report, a substitution of this for the standard operation on complaints only. It's an addition, not a substitution. That is, all that's intended here is that you, once every 6 months, I would say, but willing to listen to some other time. I think it would be preferable to do it once in the winter and once in the summer, since they're different things.
I'm not sure.
In the two.
I'm not sure what it is that you're
What
suggesting.
you would do is simply take a tour of the town and look for structures that haven't been permitted but need permits and violations of town code, and report to us accordingly. That's all. And my thought is that you should do it twice per year, because sometimes things look different winter from summer. That's it. What do you have to say?
That's the gist of this whole article. Okay.
That's the gist of the whole article.
I guess it occurs to me that needs a little fleshing out. I'm in town. This is, for instance, my third time in town in 4 days. I'm driving on the roads. I'm observant. I see things stick out and catch my attention as improper, illegal, unpermitted. Those are things that I would pursue in my normal course of activity. So when you say a periodic inspection, are you suggesting that I would go and knock on people's doors and ask to inspect their property? Are you suggesting that I walk around in people's yards and look at their house and their structures. I'm not sure what you would mean by periodic inspections. It's more than what I'm doing already.
Well, do you cover in your regular first duties, do you cover the whole town?
I'm sure at some point, but it's true, there may be roads that I haven't been on in a year. That would be true of all of the towns that I work in. I work in other towns as well. So no, you don't get on every road every year.
Okay, so I think what we could change this to is simply going those roads that you have missed in the last 6 months. Would that do it?
Well, let's go a little further.
Okay.
I think I understand what you're looking for. You'd like to be assured that there are not illegal buildings going on and that there's not obvious zoning violations take place in Warwick.
Correct.
Is that fair? It's my observation and experience that it's much easier to see buildings and structures and development in the wintertime when there's no trees and bushes around. I think twice a year is redundant. You can't see things with the growth in the year anyway. So if I would suggest, if this is something that you feel more comfortable with, that if on a yearly basis in the wintertime, I made a point of going up and down every road and observing any illegal or unpermitted structures and reporting back to the board or taking action on the same. That doesn't sound unreasonable.
That sounds precisely what's called for.
Okay. So I'll make sure that I get on every road and I observe anything that's unpermitted or contrary to zoning.
Correct. And you're not required to go on people's property without a warrant or ask us for a warrant for everybody in town.
I couldn't agree to that anyway, right? There is a clause in the building code that once a building permit's taken out, I have the legal authority to go on a property, but even in that case, I think it's just asking for trouble for all concerned if you're not welcome on a property to continue to go on a property. So, there's that too.
I think that's true, and especially given that what we're looking for is in particular things which haven't gotten permits in the first place.
So do you have any particular items or issues that you're aware of that is just somehow connected to wagon wheel is mentioned here, but no, it's not mentioned here, I'm sorry.
It's, in my mind, it's connected to two things. One is wagon wheel, and I understand that probably it wouldn't have worked for wagon wheel. And the other is the pretty little place in the woods by Royalston Road, I believe, that we found unpermitted several years ago. I trust it now has a permit.
Is it the tree house?
There's a tree house and the cabin.
Right, you and I spoke about that a few months ago. That did get resolved and permitted, so
Wonderful.
However, it's not on a town road.
Yeah, that would never be, I mean, unless you have a four-wheel drive, you probably wouldn't be going over the
I had to go low gear four-wheel drive to get up there, so I know what you mean. It's not,
So I would, but the idea is, like I took out, I did demolition without getting a demolition permit because I didn't know you needed a debuilding permit. You need one to build, you need one to tear down. So there's the idea of being able to see things happening.
Patricia, I'm sorry, you can't hear Patricia, but Katie is speaking.
That's okay, I'm done.
Okay, he's done, so. Hello, Patricia. Is there something you would like to say?
I would like to say that I like what I did because that was such a well, we inappropriately, restore and just because nobody happens to go down that road. So it's pretty funny.
Okay. So this would be a new policy for work to be done by the building inspector, and he agrees it will be done in the winter and annually. So, do we have a motion?
Including my job already.
Sounds about right.
Patricia, you'll have to do that again, the feeling.
Annual.
Can we say conduct annual instead of schedule periodic? Rosa, would you read that back, please?
I have is that we add to the building inspector's job description that he conduct annual inspections and zoning enforcement throughout the town. Just want to specify in winter.
No, we've changed that, I think, and David had an objection, I think, to that language in the first place. He said it wasn't the norm, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, my problem is that it's not done anywhere. It's not done anywhere this way. The way we work is somebody notices something and calls up the building inspector, and the building inspector investigates it. And past, the building inspector has not been inspected to go out and look for trouble. So that's the change that I objected to. But Phil seems okay with it.
Well, I'm sorry, the other piece is that I'm out here anyway, and so if I just, in the beginning of January, start keeping a list of roads that I'm on, by the time March comes around, there may be only 2 or 3 roads I haven't looked at, and I can go look at them. It's not like I'm going to go out and map the entire town every winter. I don't think we can do that in one shot, So I think it's just to be aware that that's what you're looking for, that I can do that as part of my routine, and if there's places I missed, I'll get to them.
But that's not what Rose's motion currently says.
It says the building inspector's job description that he conduct annual inspections and zoning enforcement throughout the town.
It's true.
Actually, just going to do an annual perusal.
What he is going to do, that's right, is an annual perusal of all
Annual perusal now? Okay. Annual perusal throughout the town?
of all
Properties.
properties looking for unpermitted and other zoning violations on those properties.
Unpermitted, wait a minute, unpermitted, I should say structures, I guess, or unpermitted and zoning violations. All right, now this is what I have.
Unpermitted structures and uses.
That's fine.
Okay, now it's changed his job description that he conduct annual perusal of all properties throughout the town, looking for unpermitted structures and uses.
Um,
Now, whose motion is this now?
as well as zoning violations.
As well as, now the start of this Patricia's motion, now it's morphed into your motion, so who's making this motion?
You okay with that motion, Patricia?
Read it again. Want me to read it again? That we add to the building inspector's job description that he conduct annual perusal of all properties throughout the town, looking for unpermitted structures and uses, as well as zoning violations.
And submit a report to,
I just wrote it down, the yearly report.
right.
And submit yearly report to Selectboard. Okay, now.
Second.
I think there's a question from John.
I'd just like to know how you're gonna compensate for it and how, when you negotiate a job, it's like, what you're doing right now, to me, is like playing checkers with a little kid. You know, I mean, it's changed rules, the way they run it.
Yeah,
But when you hire somebody for a position, the position has an outline. So now you're changing the outline, so now you're gonna change the compensation.
I think it's okay to
I mean,
make a relatively small change when Phil doesn't have any problem with it.
just like that one word.
It's already in the job description.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's really a stretch or a change, it's just, we're just formalizing what I do, and I'll make a list of the streets in town, and I'll note the ones that I haven't been on that year, and I'll take a ride up with them. I'm out and around anyway. And there are months from up here 5 or 6 times, maybe more. But, I don't see that we have a problem. I think we're just formalizing, we're having an understanding that, you know, the town will be looked at, and I don't see a problem. I will ask for a raise next year, that's
Yeah, I expect you will.
yeah.
Phil, one other thing, not for the motion, but from my perspective, every time you issue a building permit, if you would let the assessors know, that would be very helpful.
Yes.
Just shoot them an email, assessor@town.warwick.ma.us. Assessors, plural, @town.warwick.ma.us. Meet the assessor, alert. That would just be helpful to.
And it's something I should be doing more regularly, but I think it's sporadic. Okay.
I think that's important enough that it probably should be added to the motion because it isn't going berserk
I think it's
already.
already part of the job. It's already part of it.
It's already in the job
Okay.
description.
So let's skip it. Okay.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Say aye. Patricia, are you in favor? That makes it unanimous.
Okay. What is,
You'll have to reschedule.
Ted is, this next item is the agenda item he's here for,
Okay.
Just what you want.
at my invitation.
and, okay, advisability of issuing subsequent clarifying campground order.
And I attended both I attended the hearing, and the vote by the ZBA. And the ZBA found that it was not a mobile home park, but that it was in violation of our zoning. And therefore upheld the building inspector's order. However, the ZBA did find a defect in the order, which was the use of the word mobile home. Park. And, which it isn't. The folks there indicated that they were going to take it to court. And so my strategy is to just keep, if they want to play that game, let's keep right at it. We'll go to court, and if we have to, because we're prepared to. But let's also issue, since their attorney said that the only complaint we have with the ZBA is the word mobile home park. Therefore, you should find, So if the attorney wants to have an enforcement order that doesn't talk about enforcement, it was my suggestion that if the building inspector feels so inclined, he could issue those folks another enforcement order, this time worded correctly. So if they want to go to court, we can go to court a second time. Eventually, eventually they'll get tired of this. That's my thought. It has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that our building inspector is terrific and did in fact nail those bastards. It just in no way takes away from him and the good work that he does. It is a way, we're looking the other direction and saying, okay, look, if you want to not play by our rules, it's going to cost you another trip to court. That's the idea. And I certainly don't want to Phil think I'm trying to tell him this job. I'm just making this as a suggestion to make life more miserable for, if they wish to comply with what we've said they should, our zoning is, and what the ZBA says our zoning is, there's no problem. If they don't, it'll be another court case. That's my thought.
Mr. Chairman, I was contacted by the defendant's attorney on Friday asking for the street addresses of the members of our ZBA for the appeal that they're going to file in Superior Court. So I spoke with our counsel who said, yes, by all means, if you feel you got a word wrong, clarify an order, send out another order. So he is in fact encouraging this, and that's why I put it on the agenda and wanted Ted to speak to it.
So what
I should say I'm speaking not only as individual, but the planning board is not opposed to this. Although it's not actually none of their jurisdiction, it's a CBA, but it does involve zoning.
you got that, Patricia? The planning board is not opposed to our asking for this clarification.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to put on the record that the town has no objection to the campground operating as a recreational facility for which it is permitted. And comments were made at the hearing that we're trying to put them out of business. Now, they may see a special business case in serving the homeless. And I'd like to encourage the select board in the town to, down the road, think about maybe some third way of addressing this problem of homelessness. But the campground has seen a business opportunity to operate as a place for people to live. And that use is totally inconsistent with our zoning and the permits that they hold. And so if the selectmen feel it wise to advise the building inspector to try to issue another order that addresses that residency and use of a recreational facility. And there's other places that we could bring force to bear. They have a transient water system, and they have people who are living there residentially. I mean, we can take other tacks, but it was clear that the defendant's attorney thinks that they can win this by narrowing this to saying we're a licensed campground and we're not a mobile home park, therefore go away.
So, Phil was raising his hand. I'm getting confused here as to what we are asking for.
Well, let me see if I can frame it a little differently. The reality is, or at the wagon wheel, is that they are operating a year-round facility of permanent residency for a number of people there. They have children that were registered in the public schools. They're using that as their permanent address, when in fact the camp is licensed as a recreational camp facility or a campground. So to take and morph a campground into a permanent residential facility for an undiscriminate or indeterminate number of people is not consistent with operating a campground. The problem that I have, there is nothing in the zoning bylaw that I can pin that down to. I can't say it's prohibited to have a permanent camp or a permanent facility at your campground. There's no language in the bylaw that I could put my hands on. I thought the zoning board was remarkable and thorough in their explanation and their documentation of evidence. I think that they feel that they can continue doing this because they have a history. It's a pre-existing non-conforming use. I think the zoning board clearly ruled against that. They didn't agree with that at all. And I like Ted's idea of trying to tweak the zoning bylaw to be able to cover this, but I don't think we can. This has already been a hearing that's been held. There's a decision reached, and these people have a right to appeal it in court. So whether we issue another order now, or wait to see what happens in court, and then go after it again, I don't know that it would. I don't think we can affect this original case, because I think the piece that the zoning board came across and discussed in the hearing, you don't bring new evidence into an appeal hearing. You only hear what was already discussed and rule on the decision. You can't, like the wagon wheel can't introduce new evidence into their appeal of the zoning board's hearing. The town, I don't believe, can introduce new evidence into their appeal of the zoning board's decision either. Like the hearing is done. It's a closed case. So now it's going to go before a judge. He's going to look at the evidence and he's going to determine whether or not it was a justifiable hearing.
Actually, that's, my understanding is that is not correct. The judge is going to take this thing and try it from square one. And we will have the ability to seek further information through discovery, and it starts with a new slate. This is the advice I got from our new counsel.
Okay.
And so that all of the work that, really commendable work that the CBA did in writing up the opinion and such, is good to let our counsel know what our thinking is and how we will prosecute this before a judge. But this is not going to be like an appeals court process. This is the first time it's hit the court, and they're going to take. You're going to hear from both sides all over again.
It sounds to me we don't have to do anything.
I would agree with that. I would agree we don't have to do anything, and I'm not sure, if town council says it's advisable, then I'd certainly be happy to look at it, maybe have a meeting with the planning board and look for ways that we could readdress this. But I don't know how it's going to be readdressed in a way that's going to be more favorable to the town.
Well, let's do that, because the ZBA was functioning as if they were a judge, and they had benefit of our counsel to make sure they didn't mess up.
Right.
But they were not partisans. We are the partisans here trying to prosecute our zoning and our bylaws. And
You keep saying process wrong. You need to say first. Because you can't prosecute that.
Ted looks worried. Ted,
No, I'm not worried. Phil has asked for advice as to how to word a new order, and I have taken that into advisement, and I'm writing notes. There is no idea of having this order impact the prior one. The whole purpose of the second order would be to make them realize that they're going to have to start the clock all over again, go through the ZBA again with their attorney, and go to court again. So at some point, they may get tired of running the meter. That's the purpose of this. Now, it could be we win the case, and then obviously they will cease. But we could lose the case. You never know what's going to happen in court. It's a spooky place. So that was my thinking of it. It is in fact a whole new situation.
yes.
It's it's a reality of every town in the Commonwealth that they occasionally have to update their zoning bylaws. We have new information, we have new definitions, we have new uses, things evolve, and so I'm looking at this as this may be an issue for updating the zoning bylaw and maybe coming up with a way to restate what the town's intent is with respect to temporary or full-time, residency, whatever we're trying to accomplish here. And at the same time, we can look and see if there's something in here in order to restate this case. But I guess I would like to get into a informal meeting with the planning board and have a bigger conversation about what is the objective and how we might accomplish that. I don't know that I'm going to be able to pull anything out of the bylaw by myself that I feel comfortable with at this point.
How about temporary living?
Wouldn't they allow you to use that against you?
I think it may well backfire.
I mean, if you go and change,
I think it may well backfire. I think a judge may view that as I don't know, how would a judge view that? You want to change what you're charging with to give yourself a better chance to accomplish something. I don't know how that would work.
That happens all the time. Somebody files charges against somebody, decides the charges were flawed, and they withdraw those charges and bring new ones.
After it's been through an appeal hearing?
That wasn't, well,
I don't know.
I don't know. I think Ted's got a point. The temporary living facilities is the place to hang our hat. We change our zoning, it's not going to affect wagon wheel one whit. They're going to be pre-existing non-conforming. Our eyes need to be on enforcement. I mean, clearly the place was not meant to be residential encampment.
I don't disagree
Well,
with you.
if the matter is going to go, John, if the matter is going to go before the court as de novo, then we can raise in court everything we could raise by doing a request to the ZBA at this time.
Okay.
So there's
De
no
novo
real
is
need
the word.
for what they're asking for.
All right, so this work should continue, but it should be preparatory to our Superior Court case. Not necessarily giving them another order. But we should run this by Jeremiah too.
I agree, and I'd like to meet with the town council, maybe run some things by him as well, after Ted and I, or whoever wants to be part of that bigger discussion. But as an example, the attorney would spend an awful lot of time and energy distinguishing between mobile home, camper trailer, permanent facility. She really did put a lot of effort into, I think, obfuscating a little bit. Let's not be sure what we're going to call this, but you can't say it's this. There's a definition in the building code about mobile homes. I don't know that there's any prohibition about calling a camper a mobile home. I don't know if any judge ever said, well, you can't call that a mobile home because it's a camper. And I just don't think that there's a lot of weight to be gained by all of that confusion about what we're actually calling the place. I think that's why I think the zoning board got to the heart of the matter. It's a permanent residential facility, which is contrary to the zoning bylaw, and it's not permitted. So I don't know. I agree. I don't know that we have to. I don't think we can do anything to affect the current court case. However, if we decide to go further later on, then that's more we can do.
So the answer here is we really have nothing to do at this point.
I have no suggestion to make at this time, but we can look at it again.
Okay.
As an aside, the planning board feels that there is a possibility that our definitions which were written 40 years ago, are obsolete now and need to be changed, and we've asked CBA assistance to do that.
I'm having trouble hearing you again.
Ted, could you repeat what you
We're
just
going to
said?
ask the
Sorry.
ZBA for guidance on amending the zoning bylaws to bring them up to date, because some of our definitions regarding the difference between trailers and mobile homes are 40 years old and obsolete.
I see, thank you.
Thank you.
But I don't think there's anything we need to do here as to a clarifying campground order. Is that correct?
I agree. I don't think you can do anything right now to clarify that, at least with the current court case.
So, we've made a determination without, I think that there's a consensus that we are not going to issue a request for a clarifying campground order. Everybody agree? I don't hear anybody stirring up that we need to do anything else here, so let's move on.
You're the only meeting to company.
There's a poll hearing to schedule.
We're meeting this Thursday, but I'm gonna be out of town.
Select Board, this is a poll hearing for the corner of Gale Road and Main Street in Orange. It's a single poll, and I recommend you set the date of September 29th at 6:30 p.m.
So moved.
So moved. Second. Patricia? Anything? Okay, you're seconding it, that's fine. Any other discussion? Hearing none. What's the vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so it is set for September 29th at 6:30, I believe.
Is this a Verizon phone?
I'll sit here.
Thank you,
I'm
Phil.
sorry.
Thank you.
Good day.
Okay, thank you.
Beth, you're up.
Execute WCS and borrowing documents. That sounds as if it's just executed.
Roof borrowing documents, which Beth has. Well, why don't we move on to the Mass Works contract while she's discussing some fine points with you.
Okay.
Here she is.
I'm sorry, I just read Phil while I can get him. I'm here as treasurer. We are borrowing, per town meeting, $155,000 to pay for the school roof. The ban will be effective September 12th, 2014, and will run through September 11th, 2015. Right now, with the way money is going, it behooves us to do these things yearly. I got a bid for this at 0.53%. I'm currently making 5% at Hometown Bank, so we're hardly paying anything in interest.
Beth.
Beth Gilgun. And every other bank came in at 0.6, so there was a no-brainer. So I just need signatures of the two of you and of Rosa right here and right here for you two.
Well, we just signed them, and I think there's a consensus that we can, so let's move on. If that's okay, Patricia.
Do you want to sign this later? It's fine with me. You need to sign it.
All right, that covers both of the.
No, that covers one of them. Now you
That
get
covers the MassWorks.
Now we get the Mass Works contract. A motion would be in order to authorize the chairman to sign on behalf of the town.
I move to allow the chairman to sign the Mass Works contract on behalf of the town.
Blue pen, Nick?
It works.
Make sure it's a blue pen. It won't count unless it's, that looks pretty blue to me.
Put the little stickers on.
Okay.
Sign here, sign here,
Yep.
and bring it back, and I'll. And I missed that entire motion because.
There's a
Chris,
motion,
I'm dealing
and
with
is
this
there a
too.
second?
You gotta do two things at once.
Patricia? And she said-
Patricia, you seconded that, didn't you? You sign right there.
Say yes.
Thank you.
What was the motion, Nick? I mean.
Authorize Nick to sign the
sign.
Mass Works.
Sign Mass
Probably
Works.
not legal.
Any other discussion?
that is, that's your signature.
All in favor?
Okay.
Mass Works documents?
I just voted.
There's no other discussion,
You
is
voted on that
there?
already?
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
That's Rosa.
Thank you.
That's Rosa.
So that's Mass Works, is it documents, contracts? I'm sorry, I was talking to Beth, I didn't hear.
Contracts. Whatever it says on the agenda.
It says.
Okay, I think we
It doesn't
took
say
care of
about Mass
both,
Works.
did we not?
We took care of both. Just for your information, here's where we are on the roof project. We had a total of $190,000 revenue side, which is comprised of the 155 from borrowing and 2 annual appropriations of community school improvement account. And then on the expended side, and this includes what's committed under contract, bills that have yet to be paid, we're at about 180. And the only dicey part is that going up the rake on the gym, the gable ends of the gym, it's going to be extraordinarily expensive to take that all apart and have people hang from it. So I'm going to hold off on that. We may treat it from the inside, do a blower door test and see. We've done so much improvement, but it's looking like a $25,000 added cost just to deal with the intersection of that woolly material, that's acoustic material on the top of the wall and sealing that up. So Bill's got a method if it seems that we need to drill holes and inject goo into there to block the air. But those are not vented soffits and fascia anyway, so we shouldn't be blowing air out like we were elsewhere. Perhaps Bill's got something to add, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I was talking with the lead carpenter on the job, and because that area is not actually even vented, I think the only possible air release you'd have would be through the cracks where the boards meet. So given the expense of doing it, and there's some real hazard with doing it too, and I think that's where it takes the extra time. So I think the savings that we're going to get out of everything that's been done right now is going to be excellent, and what we get for our money on the remaining is kind of iffy. So I agree with David that that's pretty much the route to go.
Okay, I don't think there's anything we need to do here, is there?
No, I was just disclosure.
Your answer is no, we don't?
No, we have nothing.
Super. Let's see, select board reports. Patricia, the pipeline report from you, I assume you want to continue again?
She actually has a letter.
No, actually,
Yes, I did, Patricia, but I changed Nick to the chairman, not you, and I changed the date from 2007 to 2014. And but otherwise, it's your letter. And I had a couple typos I got rid of, I hope.
I would like to ask that everybody receive a copy of it. I have emailed it to you all, and I would like to put that on the warrant for the town to vote on, whether they want to take it out or not. So I think we're going to meet on the warrant on the 8th. Then if you could draft an appropriate item, warrant article to go with it, I would very much appreciate it.
Mr.
Why-
Chairman?
Why do,
In that case, we can continue the whole discussion until the 8th. Okay?
why do we need it on the,
We already had a vote.
yes, we did.
Confused.
Patricia, we already had one vote, and there are those who would argue that it's an improper use of the town meeting to bring these kinds of non-binding issues before the town meeting. I have this letter on letterhead ready for Nick's signature if they vote it. Let's just send the letter and copy it out there, but it's not a good use of town meetings time.
Okay, add the copy to our senator representative.
I know who they are, I can do that.
Okay, so,
And I would also like to have you agree to have it sent to the online discussion group, be transmitted to other towns in the area.
Well, that sounds political to me. I will be happy to forward a copy of the executed letter to you to do that, but I don't think that's appropriate for me to be involved in.
Well, that's fine with me. I just wanted to get it started. Okay?
okay, so all we're really doing here is the board is authorizing me to sign this letter, which looks to me to be wonderful.
Well, there's one,
Yeah.
Except that Don says there's,
should be capital, if all these are capital, that.
Oh, don't, the format was ugly. The thing was like 7 miles wide. If somebody else wants to attempt that, but
Okay.
I'm not format queen.
Okay,
You get Times New Roman left justified out of me.
well, it's just a capitalization.
Let's see, all the changes need to be made.
Oh, it wasn't that hanging
No, it
bullet?
was,
All right, I
it
can
was
handle
the
it.
capital S. 'Cause
I'll
there
bring
were-
it to the next meeting then. And that way I can add the, you guys vote it, and I can add the CCs to it somehow.
okay, well, we're authorizing, I think we can authorize me to sign a letter which has typos corrected. And that way it doesn't need to come back to us next week, right?
Okay, that's fine with me.
Okay, so moved.
Second,
Any other discussion?
no,
Hearing none, aye.
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 May I have
Okay.
that copy so that I know what it is you've been talking about? Just freaking this.
Coordinator report.
Oh, do you have to repeat the second one?
Do you want to talk about?
Oh, no, wait a minute. Open direct budget discussion, that's me. Let me just say on this one, I said that I thought we ought to open direct discussions with the teachers, and I didn't say teachers union. I take it there's no other organization they have than their union?
Well, they call their union the association, because I don't think teachers' unions are legal, so it is a union, but they call it the Mass Teachers
I
Association.
have a request, Nick.
Yes. Your request?
Be so kind as to volunteer to represent the town of Warwick in the next budget discussions with the teachers union. I will plan to make sure you can get there.
Okay, to do essentially what we would have done here. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, it sounded to me
Okay.
like she wants you to be our rep to the next union negotiations.
Sounds good to me, except it's not union negotiations, it's simply a rep to, as a rep to the union to discuss coordination with the town of budget issues.
Is that appropriate?
As a rep for the town in the budget discussion, because every year we're asked to send somebody, and every year we have opted to use the Birds as representative to represent us. I think it's time we got somebody there as well.
Okay, but I don't understand
She's throwing you a
what you're
curveball.
asking for here. I think what you're asking for is simply,
To agree to represent the town the next time there are budget discussions with the teachers union.
that sounds fine to me. And we're inviting the teachers union here.
I don't either.
Okay,
So if you are satisfied,
that sounds fine by me. I don't think we need a motion on this, do we?
I don't think we do either.
Okay, so be it, that's what we'll do. Coordinator report.
I got nothing to add.
I have nothing to add because I think my concerns about the coordinator's report were covered earlier.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.